Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Namaste Center, take 3. And we are in a beautiful Sunday here in Hendersonville, North Carolina. It's spring, it's beautiful, and it's great to see everyone here, and also whoever may be watching from afar. And of course, as always, hi to Florida friends. And a great day here at the center because we have, after the service, our town hall meeting, which is an opportunity for us to really share ideas, dreams, goals, not only for the Namaste Center, but how we fit in individually, how we can enhance our own individual lives and offer those to be of greater service to the world. So it's a very, very exciting day for me. And I wanted to offer a talk based on some of these ideas that have come up, because it's been my dream, my goal, to really see this center flourish and be what I feel it's meant to be. And it already is. It's wonderful. It's great. Everyone who comes here is obviously wonderful and tuned in, and it's a great place, I think, for us all to explore all kinds of different aspects of spirituality and not necessarily feel obligated to buy into one philosophy or teaching, but to be able to explore different perspectives. One of my favorite quotes from A Course in Miracles, it's actually, although a universal theology is impossible, a universal experience is not only possible but necessary. So if it's A Course in Miracles for you, that's great. If it's Christianity, Buddhism, astrology, healing, it doesn't really matter, because I feel that there is a common thread that flows through all of these wonderful teachings that lead us home, lead us to the place of remembrance of who we are created to be, which is beings of light, beings of love. And I feel like a lot of churches and spiritual organizations offer great things. There's so many, you can get so many great tools from this one and lessons from this one and great community, and it's wonderful to experience all of these different churches and groups. But I'm also of the belief that I want to do more than just go on Sunday morning and listen to a message. I mean, that's a wonderful part of it, but I feel like, what are we doing with the message? I don't think there's one thing that I or anybody that speaks here or anywhere else can tell you that you haven't heard before. I may be wrong. Someone may come up with some great new, like, oh, that's the Holy Grail. That's what we've been looking for. But I don't think so, but I'm open to that possibility. I think we all have heard the message. We've been there, and it's like, oh yeah, I keep hearing that over and over, and that's nice. That's a good message. Love, forgiveness, oneness. Isn't that a nice message? But, then we leave, and it's like, we're driving down the highway, what happens. I won't that, or someone looks at us funny, and we respond like, and that's human. That's okay. I mean, not to make us feel guilty for when we're not being all that we can be, but I also think we could all do a little better. I just really have that idea and belief and knowing that all of us are capable of maybe being a little more mindful, a little more focused, a little more loving, a little less angry, maybe a little less judgmental. We can all do better. And I really have this idea, this dream, this goal for us at the Namaste Center to be able to live from a higher perspective. And to be examples to where people are like, man, they're not only, you heard when I was growing up, people who went to this church, oh, they're Sunday Christians. They go in and they dress up nice, and they come in and they're, very worshipful and mindful when they're there. And then afterwards, well, whatever happens, happens. That's just interesting. So I really have a great, I think it's time for us to step up. I like to call it, as I titled my talk today, Paradigm of Possibility. We're moving from one paradigm to the next, and there is some crazy stuff happening in the world right now on planet Earth. It's just, you can read these things and scare yourself half to death, which I'm not really scared. I just look at it like, wow, and I see that's interesting. I shared with the group yesterday about the word interesting. When I was playing golf professionally, one of the worst things you can do, and of course golf being a metaphor for life, if you really want to destroy a golf game, if you miss a shot, just get angry, slam your clubs down and start cursing, and that just takes you right out of the zone or the Zen moment. You're just like lost it right there. So what you learn to do, and what I taught my students to do, is when you hit a shot that's not exactly what you had anticipated, step back, take a breath, and say, interesting. And that's like, where did that come from? And I think it's a good way for us to relate to life. When these things are happening, with whether it's the economy or the weather or future predictions about our world, it's interesting. And the only way that we're going to be negatively affected by any of these things is if we allow ourselves to get too much in here with it and not here with it. And so I see all of these crazy things working together for good. It's that big wrecking ball coming in and finally saying, okay, everything you've clung to up to this point is no longer your means of sustenance and support. That you have everything you need within you, sort of like the Wizard of Oz. It's been there all along, and we kept following that yellow brick road thinking we were going to find something else. But it's all within us. And the universal message that just this week, we had some great things here at the center. Of course, Monday night we have the Course in Miracles. This past Tuesday night we had the healing presentation on Living from Soul. Then we had the astrological presentation. And so when I come to a group, I love to hear different perspectives. And I always like to hear things that support my beliefs. And like, how does that fit into what I believe? And of course, everything is like, well, that's exactly what I believe. Said differently, but it's exactly what I believe. So we come into the Course in Miracles. What is it about? It's about living more peacefully. So there's a quote in the Course in the introduction that says, the Course doesn't aim at teaching the meaning of love or God, because that's beyond what can be taught, but it does aim at removing the blocks to the awareness of love's presence, which is your natural inheritance. So that's great. So how do we do that? Through forgiveness, through asking the Holy Spirit to guide us and lead us and direct us in everything we say and do. So there's the Course in Miracles. Then we go to our Living from Soul group on Tuesday night. How do we heal? Well, if we've got all these blockages, we're not really good receptors for healing or to be healers. So we need to make sure that we remove those blocks that keep us from being the light. It was just framed and presented a little differently, but there again, the same message. So great message there. We have potential and possibility. Jesus being our elder brother, our teacher, and our friend, and one of many examples of what is potential and possible with all of us. And that is that we can heal. This Dr. Shah, who is gifting us with this great healing message, is one of many healers out in the world today, along with Dr. Pearl, Eric Pearl. He's another great healer who says that this is not something limited to a few. This is a potential for everybody if we allow ourselves to receive it and to live from that. So we all have that potential to be gods, to be enlightened. We just have to allow ourselves to remove those blocks and obstacles that keep us from allowing that to happen. There again, those blocks, those obstacles, what are they? Their anger, their judgment, their fear. Justified or not, which it really, according to A Course in Miracles, is never justified. We may think it is, but it's not. But we're just keeping ourselves blocked from our connection to Source. It's time for us to reconnect. That's the title of Eric Pearl's book, Dr. Pearl's book, The Reconnection. but we have to remove those blocks so we can be aware of what our potential is. And one of the great quote that I've been seeing a lot that's been quite interesting to me is we don't even really know how good our body can feel. You know, we don't even have a clue of how good our spirit can feel because we've got it so dumbed down with all this external nonsense. Well, I shared this with the group yesterday, and I think it, excuse me, is a great quote or great little analogy of this. And it's these 4 adorable little African boys standing out on a plain, and they're just looking out at, you know, nature. And one of them says to them, "Did you know that kids in North America are forced to sit in classrooms all day? And if they move around or get excited and make too much noise, they're given drugs to keep them quiet. And then their main source of exercise is playing video games, and most of their food is fake and full of dangerous chemicals." Another one says, "That's terrible. We should take up a donation for it." So, you know, it's so true, you know, and you know, I say that because it just resonates so true that we've been, you know, we allow ourselves to be so dumbed down in so many ways, you know, we can use all of these blessings. I enjoy comfort, and I think that we've been blessed with, you know, I enjoy computers and TV, but I think that also we can use everything as a means of awakening or just to keep us distracted and shut off from spirit. And so it's important that we allow ourselves that time to nurture our spirit, and I think that that's through nature and relationships and getting together, and of course, above all, the highest vibration is through laughter and joy. You know, have fun with our life. Do things that make us happy. You know, watch funny movies or just play ball. Do something, you know, playful and fun, because that's lifting the vibe. And you know, it's back to that whole idea of a new paradigm. We know what to do. Again, I love how technology is supporting all of these messages. So it's just in case, well, not so sure about that spiritual message. Technology, you know, quantum science supports it. Heart Math, the Institute of Heart Math supports it as well, that our intelligence of the heart exceeds that of the mind and the brain 1,000-fold. So we need to get out of our intellect and into our heart and live from that place. And that is that place of oneness and peace and unity. Well, again, this weekend, I couldn't talk without sharing that this weekend is the Masters weekend, the golf tournament. And of course, it's the one tournament every year I really, really, really enjoy. I don't really watch a lot of golf on TV anymore, but I love the Masters. And it's such a sacred setting. I had the pleasure of going there years ago and experiencing it firsthand. Once was enough. I mean, the crowds are a little bit much, but yeah, to step foot on the Augusta National Golf Course was amazing. Well, what's even more amazing is this young man who actually made the cut at 14 years old. Now, for those of you that don't play golf, that's like a big deal, whatever. So it's a big deal. It's the first time it's ever happened. His name is Juan Tianlang, and he's Asian, and he's little. I mean, he's a tiny little dude, and he is he's so cute. He's so focused, and you think about what, you know, using that there again. Being a golfer, I always use golf as a metaphor for life. Well, he has at 14 years old mastered the game pretty darn good, and I would say anybody there in that tournament has mastered it pretty well too. And so, what is it that makes those golfers, or those, you know, Tiger Woods? Say what you will about some of the choices he's made in his life, he has an ability to control his mind more than I think any athlete ever that we've seen so far. And what they are able to do is to work on that focus and to really have that clear vision, that goal, and that commitment to really not allowing anything out here take them off course with their goal. And I can promise you that when this young man, 14 years old, unfortunately he got a penalty for slow play, because you can only imagine how intimidating, it is for the first time you're there and you're in a foreign country, you don't speak English. I mean, a lot of, so he was a little disoriented, but he held his peace and maintained his sense of centeredness. And so he was able to overcome that penalty and still make the cut. And when you make the cut, that means after 2 days of play, you've actually been in the top percentage of the players for that tournament. So it's he's holding in there, he's maintaining it, and it's great. Well, there again, Tiger Woods, steel trap mind. He's able to literally hold that focus in everything he's doing on the golf course. Well, we're not here to learn golf unless you want to. We can go down there. But we're here to talk about how we can be more mindful of how we live, and how we can live better and be better and experience more peace. And thank you very much. And as a result, their examples, they've done it and accomplished it on the golf course. Well, we have that potential and that possibility to do it here. And I'm not talking just here at the Namaste Center, I'm talking about in life in general. And going back to the simplicity, that common theme, it is about focus and it's about commitment. And if we're going to be good at anything, then we need to give it a good fair shot and a commitment. So what do? You take time to meditate, be in nature, be in joy. Allow yourself to be surrounded by beauty and people who lift you up and support you. All of these things that support your goal and your vision. And if you allow yourself to do that, you can't help but achieve it and succeed in it. But if you choose to focus on everything that's wrong and the negativity and the fear and ain't it awful in the world and my life sucks and all of this, that can be your experience too. And the good news is even if you choose to stay there, this Kangen water is delicious. Hello, advertisement there. But even if we choose to stay in the negativity and fear all day and night long, there's nothing we can do to change the reality of who we are. So that's the good news. It just doesn't feel quite as good. So we're here to awaken, we're here to heal, and we're here to live from a higher perspective. And a couple of attributes, of course, of the ego versus soul or spirit. Of course, we want to live more from soul now. I'd want to commit, wouldn't it be amazing to see, it's not about, bringing in, I'd rather have a small group of committed people, really sharing that vision of living from soul than a large group of ego-driven beings around me. So it's really up to us who we surround ourselves with. And of course, attributes of the ego, or many of which I've mentioned: fear, anger, depression, hate, judgment, and material gain. Of course, those are all things that the ego is looking for and seeking and thinking that it's out here and it's your fault that I feel like this, and wanting to blame the world and the conditions of the world for all of our problems. And of course, soul is all about love, compassion, peace, understanding, happiness, and nature and nurture. And if we, which sounds better to you? When we live in that place of love or from the soul, then everything seems to just work out somehow. I was listening to a radio presentation, as I always do on Sunday morning driving in here, and it's Christian Science. And there's always someone there doing a testimony or their story. And there was a gentleman who was sharing his story, and he said he he didn't just say what he did for business, but he basically said that he was in the midst of a project, he had no money, and he wasn't going to get paid till the project was done. In the meantime, he's got a stack of bills this high, he's going through, and there's no way he can pay them. I mean, no way. He says he has no money. And he basically was telling his story about how he went out in nature, pulled out his Mary Baker Eddy Science of Mind book and started reading, and got centered and just surrendered it to Spirit or to God, and just said, you know, I have no idea what to do. I surrender, show me the way, what do you want me to do? That complete surrender and sincere surrender. He said he walked back into his office, he gets a phone call from someone he hadn't heard from in a long time. And it's like, I've got a job for you, can you meet me tomorrow? And so he said, sure. So he said, but you're gonna have to buy my plane ticket out and back, and I'm gonna need a check for this amount of money to, you know, as a retainer for this job. And the guy says, fine. So literally within that instant, you know, his entire situation was turned around, and from there, the momentum carried him to that next level. So it was a true, you know, testimony of faith. Well, we all, you know, have faith in maybe things that don't support us. It's time that we give that faith and knowing to the universe and to God, and say, okay, I place, as A Course in Miracles says, I place my future in the hands of God. Or it says, I will step back and let Him lead the way. You know, we're there again, what are we programmed to do? We're programmed to be human, we've all heard it, human doings instead of human beings. And we need to just step back. And one of my favorite quotes, which we touched base on yesterday, was, I need do nothing. And that doesn't mean literally doing nothing. That just means that I'm willing to put my ego mind, my judgment about how I think things should be, and put that aside and let Spirit completely work through me. Place my total trust and confidence in the guidance of Spirit or God to handle everything. And then what happens, we have restored, renewed energy. It seems as though the right person shows up just by accident. I mean, totally, you know, you could never make things happen in such a synchronistic fashion as if we just get our little ego monkey mind out of the way. So as not only in my personal life, but also being here with each of you today and the future of the Namaste Center, I really do choose to step back, recommit. I love what Bob Stevens, that's a big word of his, recommit, because and that, you know, it's funny how certain words stick with you from people, and every time I hear that, I think of him. But it's like, you know what, we're going to stumble, we're going to make mistakes, things happen, but it's up to us not to sit here and engage in those and go into that story. It's just about interesting, and I recommit. So in this moment, I recommit to live from love, to live from peace, and live from harmony. And I invite each and every one of you all to recommit in your own personal lives and in the future of our center, and really experience and create a paradigm that supersedes anything that we could imagine in our mortal limited mind, and just see what the future holds. So really grateful each and every one of you guys are on my path in my life, and look forward to creating a great experience with each and every one of you. And so it is. Namaste.
Namaste.